In this presentation, you will learn about planning and intervention. Planning and intervention is a difficult task. There are several things which need to be carried out, like campaign strategists must decide how to allocate available finances among possible pathways, focal behaviors, message types, channels, and dissemination possibilities when developing the plan. Different questions should be asked, like should the campaign concentrate on changing fundamental behaviors or is it planning to change peripheral actions? What proportion of the available resources should be used to directly affect the focal segment? As opposed to indirectly employing environmental factors and promoting interpersonal influencers, which influences should be looked for? What is the most effective way to combine the messages of awareness, teaching, and encouragement? How many messages should be used? For example, if alcohol consumption is being studied, a healthy campaign planning begins with an assessment of the behavioral aspects of the teenage drinking problem in order to determine which activities should be undertaken by which sectors of the community. The important youth demographics whose drinking practices need to change must be identified by the designer. Before building models of the direct and indirect pathways of media effect, the proximate and each segment's final target behaviors can be identified. A crucial part of the communication strategy is defining target audiences and target behaviors that can be directly affected by campaign messages. Questions like: is it more successful to spread the word using primarily small screen media or expensive TV channels? Is it better to spread out the campaign communications over time or to deliver them in quick bursts? While determining the community issue or objective, one must solve and take the necessary steps. Some of the steps, as discussed below, before making any intervention are listing the issue or objective that the community is working to solve, direct examination of the issue or objective, performing research, interviewing influential community members, examining historical or current records. Set expectations for what success would entail. Give an account of what success would entail. In what ways, if at all, will the community or group change as a result of the intervention would benefit? The intervention is intended to achieve objectives. Determine how will you make the intervention effective, what will change, when, and by how much time. Find and evaluate best practices or evidence based solutions that might be used to solve the issue or objective. Indicate potential or promising best practices for your circumstance, taking into account numerous databases and lists of best or research based practices that are readily available. How certain is it each conceivable best practice would be able to lead to the observed development? Check whether the best practice would be effective in your community in producing the intended results. Check whether the elements such as time, money, people, and technical assistance necessary for the best practice to succeed are present. The best practice or evidence based strategy to try in your circumstance based on evaluation, given the evaluation and literature. Describe the main parts and components of the intervention. Be specific about the following components for each of these five interventional strategies. Deliver knowledge and developing skills. For example, conduct a public information campaign to educate people about the problem or goal and how to address it. Access, obstacles, exposures, and opportunity modification. For example, increase availability of affordable childcare for those entering workforce, reduce exposures to stressors, improve supports and services, for example, increase the number of centers that provide healthcare, modify the results, for example, provide incentives to develop housing in low income areas, modify wider systems and policies, for example, change business or public policies to address the goal. Determine the delivery method, each part and element of the intervention which will be used to reach the community. For example, workshops for skill training or development. Make note of how you will modify the intervention or best practice to suit the requirements and circumstances of your neighborhood. For example, differences in resources, cultural values, competence, language. Create a plan of action for the intervention. Describe the precise change or component of the intervention that will take place. Check the resources, cash and personnel, required or accessible. Test the intervention in a small scale pilot study. Test the intervention and the participants. Analyze how well the intervention was implemented. Analyze the impacts, repercussions, and side effects. Gather input and utilize it to modify and enhance the intervention. Put the intervention into action. Then keep an eye on it and assess the results as well as the process. Thank you for watching the presentation. Do like, subscribe, share, and leave your comments about this presentation or any other topics you would like to learn more about.